Apasna, danger. And you can transform the wings. This looks like an alien. We have the Elint pod, which detects radars.
What is this?
Apparently it's 483 out of 1,000. And there's some attachments for the nose. And then here is an external fuel tank. Comes with 2 of them, a pair of weapons pylons, some separate cockpit windows, along with another set, third one where they're joined together, and some R-60 air-to-air missiles. Then we have the rear landing gear, which is held by magnets on top. Pretty detailed struts and cover. And then here is the front landing gear wheel, and it has a cover on top to catch debris from going in the engines. Now the wheels, they do not turn, although they are made of rubber. And then we have these small external drop tanks, and some ground attack S-8 rocket pods, and this pair of brackets that go on the wings. And here's an SRS-14 Elint pod. It's used to detect radars. And here's the landing gear cover when it's closed in the front. And these are for the doors in the rear. Also comes with some tools, this little tweezer, and a little poker. So let's add in the landing gear. So we're gonna go in the bottom and attach it with magnets.
Well, stiff. There we go.
So that's what it looks like. It's pretty sturdy. Now let's pop in the other one. Then we have that landing gear in the front, and that one went in super easy. Now on the bottom there are these slots on the sides, which I have to look at the box to see what to do. Apparently they have this flip up panel, and they go over some of the features of this aircraft. And while we're here, I think it's a bit weird they're showing the back of the jet on the box art when it makes sense to show the front. So we're going to insert the bracket, just slide it in here, and this fits in nice and snug. I believe it's used to help aerodynamics, although I looked at pictures of the real one and it doesn't seem like they add it anymore. So here's how it looks like with the fins installed. It reminds me of shoulder pads. Let me know if you guys know the proper name, but I'm going to remove it. So instead we're going to use this piece. So after you insert it, you got to press it in, and it should stay like this. Although when I tried it on the other wing, it didn't really stick. If I just tap it lightly, it just falls off. So it is barely being held in there. And now for the Elint pod, got these 2 pegs, and it should go in this middle pylon. And the rear peg is thicker, so it only fits in one way. So when I added it, there is a big gap. So I tried taking it out. Looks like it kind of scraped here, so I don't know. So I thought maybe it'll go in this hole, which fits in a bit easier. But again, we still have that gap. So I did start filing around the peg to make it smoother, which did fit a bit better, not perfect though. So let's add in the drop tanks. You just attach it to the pylon first. This one had a nice snap to it. And I just noticed looking at this, there is a bit of imperfection here. It's not present on the other one. So this one does not really want to stay in there. So instead I'm going to use the one with the bracket. So here's how that attaches. Alright, so here's the new look with the drop tanks and the fins. At least it's more stable, less likely to fall off. Now let's add in the smaller tanks on the wings.
Okay.
Which again, I had this problem where the peg wouldn't fit in all the way, so I did have to modify it. And there we go. Alright, so that is the underside. Now for the refueling probe, you just slide it in this hole in the nose, put it 90 degrees, and then rotate it forward. And then you can see it gets buried in there. It's a nice little look, but you can also leave it raised so it's in refueling mode. But I think I'll just leave it in the down position. Then we're going to add in the tip of the nose, which you could just slide in the hole.
Wow, that is not held in by anything. Like, look at this. It just falls off.
So you probably have to glue it. So I'm going to use Elmer's glue because it's temporary, and it should stay like that. You know what, I think I'll remove this and try gluing the regular weapons pylon instead. Alright, so here it is, finally assembled. My first ever die-cast metal model aircraft, the Calibre wing Sukhoi Su-24MR. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. And since this die-cast metal, it's actually pretty heavy to hold. And you can transform the wings because this is a variable swept aircraft. Although when you do it, you also have to rotate the wing attachments. So here's how it looks like with the wings spread out. Now one weird thing I noticed about this model is the wings, they're kind of sloping down. Like they're sagging a bit. I don't know if that's on the actual aircraft. But here's how it looks like on the other side. And here I just wanted to try try out the rocket pods. So that's another option you can add to the wing, although I don't think it's common to see these days. So let's get started here in the front where we have the pitot tube, which I had to glue on, and these are partially made of plastic. This aircraft is 59 yellow, so it has this color separation in the nose, which I think is a bit unique since other ones are all white or all gray. And since it's an MR, it does have this extra antenna in the middle, which is actually slightly off-centered, and the few things falling off, so I think I'll just remove it. I think it does require super glue if you want it to stay. But next up on the side, we got a bunch of these yellow labels. And this is in the Ukrainian camouflage livery. Very nice. And you can see it here all across the side. Now if you look closely, the labels are kind of legible. You may need a magnifying glass and understand Russian. And it's pretty cool. They actually added these rivet details all around. And we got the Sukhoi Winged Archer logo. I've always seen this logo on an aircraft, but I never realized what it was until now. Also look at these cutout boxes. That's nice. So if you go back into the front, unfortunately there was a bit of scraping right there out of the box. And also we got that refueling probe, which I did have to glue in, or else it would be really loose. Then we got these vanes sticking out the sides. And here's the cockpit with the pilots, which they're sitting side by side, because this is a bomber, not really a fighter jet. But yeah, it looks really cool. You can see the pilots with the white helmets, visors, and a brown flight suit. Lots of rivets on the canopy. So I could take it off by pulling it from the back. So the canopy is just one big piece with these pegs in the front to hold it in. And the inside is blue. So here's a look at the interior. The pilots in the chairs and a detailed flight instrument panel. It has all the gauges and stuff. And the seats are pretty bulky because they're ejection seats. So you can attach the open cockpit version. It gives a different look to it. Maybe the pilots are getting on or getting off. Yeah, pretty cool looking. And the figures are removable. So there he is wearing that oxygen mask, looks like an alien, and he's wearing these straps for the suit. So here's the chair without anybody sitting in there. You can also make it so it's closed on one side and open in the other. And the reason why they have two separate hatches is so that they have some protection when the other guy ejects. That's going to have a lot of heat, so you can customize which side is open, but I'm just going to leave it closed. And then on top we have a communications antenna and this IR sensor dome to detect missiles. And this aircraft is very detailed. Look at all these labels. And here it says Opasna, danger, air intake is right there. Which the inside is just going to be black. And you can go in a fair bit. And then down here we got the 59, this arrow, and all these other labels really nicely detailed. Then we have the landing gear door, which kind of sticks out with some more printing. And then we have the landing gear itself and the wheel, which is green. Pretty common in old Soviet aircraft. And here's how they look like from the front and the other side. Alright, then we have these triangles that stick out on the sides. It is interesting that there's like this little slit in between the fuselage and the air intakes. Then in the middle, I think this is another air intake. Check out all this molded in panel detail. Very well done. Then we have the variable swept wings, which go inside this hole. And these parts are gray.
Yeah, go in like that. It is pretty stiff though.
And swept back all the way, this is how it goes supersonic. Or you can angle it so it's intermediate. Maybe you might see this in a flyby. But anyways, we got the Ukrainian roundels on the wings, along with some warning labels. I think some of them they're talking about no step. Then we got the red navigation light, which you'll put on the left side. The right side, it's going to be green. And then in the rear, we got the tail. Has the number 59. The Ukrainian coat of arms, the Trizup, and these little bumps coming out the sides. They're probably some kind of sensor. And at the base, there is a compartment for the drogue chute. That should open up when it's landing. There's also this blue emblem, but I'm not sure what that is. Then we got the horizontal stabilizers, which can go up and down, swinging. And that's pretty much the extent it can go. Now in real life in storage, it actually tends to tilt downwards, and they did have to add in these foam tubes underneath to keep it horizontal. And at the bottom we have these bulges. I think in the original Su-24M they had a gun in this pod, but the MR removed that gun. Instead they have these two cameras here in the front, along with some antennas. Check out the rest of the molding. And then in the middle we have the ELINT pod, which detects radars, really essential for the MR, because this is a reconnaissance aircraft. Looks like there's some extra holes for attaching stuff. Then in the rear we got some more molded in detail, an antenna in the middle, and these fins on the sides, and this bump at the bottom. And then in the back we have the engine afterburners, which you can kind of see inside of the light. And then the outside of it has a silver coating, at least on the bottom. There's also these fins sticking out. And at the bottom there are these little points, which I'm not sure what they are, but it's nice attention to detail. Now it's converted to flight mode. So it was a bit awkward trying to get this out. So I thought to remove the pod to get it out of the way.
Wow, once I took it off, this thing just broke off. That sucks.
And still the landing gear would not really come out. It's really stuck in there.
There we go. Bruh, the magnet came off. Look at that. Okay, let's see if the other side's bad as that one. At least that one's intact. This. There you go.
Alright, so here's how it looks like when it's flying, landing gear retracted. And if we want to spread out the wings, this is how that would look like. But yeah, I think we're done with that. I can see there is a scratch where the wing is swinging, so definitely something is not in alignment, but it doesn't seem like I have the same issue on the other wing. And interesting, you can even bring it back even more, like this. So that's what it looks like all straight. I don't know if that's actually possible. Maybe it is a bit overextended. So here it is again where I glued in the fuel tanks and the weapons pylon. So at least on my model, it requires glue to make this possible. And here I just brought in my HO scale Kamaz truck 4310. And it's from the brand Kun, which is Ukrainian. And it's 1:87 scale, which is smaller than 1:72. So in real life, the Kamaz would look a little bit bigger. I also got this Ural truck. It's around the same size. Maybe it is too small though. So for my final thoughts, the Su-24MR from Calibre wings, my first ever diecast model aircraft, and it's much larger and heavier than I expected. I was actually impressed how much molded in detail they have, and printing, which might be readable if you can understand Russian. It has air intake and engine covers, rubber wheels. There are Su-24MR specific details like the cameras and the nose, a cool pixel camo scheme, and it has movable variable swept wings and stabilizers, as well as a removable cockpit and pilot. You can also switch it from the landing gear down to flight mode by swapping it out, and there's a bunch of accessories. Now despite all of that, I don't recommend this plane. On paper it does look really cool, but in real life there's a lot of problems. Number one, the landing gear covers were unreliable. Where the magnets fell out, I just feel like that's bad build quality and kind of cheap. Number two, the weapons pylon wouldn't even fit in the underside of the wing, so I did have to glue it. Number three, the attachments like the ELINT pod or fuel tank pegs had to be trimmed down for it to fit. It doesn't work straight out of the factory, which is the whole point of pre-made models. I don't really want to do it myself. And when I tried taking off the pod, the peg snapped off, which someone did actually warn me about this model having the issue, so it's not just me. Number four, there was already a scratch in the front when I unboxed it. And number five, the wings feel like they're drooping slightly downwards. Maybe they're supposed to do a little bit, but I just feel like it's slightly off. There also is scraping on one of the wings in the paint where it rotates. So this model was honestly a bit frustrating with all these parts not fitting in and breaking. I did do some research with some reviews and they said Calibre wings is pretty great. It's not a cheap model either at $170, which I did get this at the Flying Mule, so I went in with some high expectations. Unfortunately, those were not met. I still think it'll be fine as a display if you're okay with gluing parts and modifying it. But for me, I think I'll be staying away from diecast aircraft for the foreseeable future. It doesn't feel like it'll fit for me and I just want to experience what's it like. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Am I overreacting or these points are valid? Because I know next to nothing about diecast aircraft. But yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you do, hit the like button and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.